Hi, Troy W. Hudson here, and this is my voiceover weekly stew. So this past week was a very up and down, ebb and flow sort of chaotic week in voiceover, which is actually the norm. So I've come to embrace expect the unexpected, so to speak. When you're working from your own home studio and when you're bidding on jobs and you don't necessarily have a locked in exactly the way the whole week's going to go, at least I don't, not yet. Honestly, from one day to the next, you don't know if you'll be playing a leprechaun or if you'll be playing a crazy Native American warrior type, or if you'll be playing a cowboy, or just reading straight e-learning material, or doing a children's story. So variety is the spice of life, and honestly, I wouldn't change it because I rather like waking up and totally trusting God to deliver whatever it is the day holds in store. So we never know for sure anyway, do we? I actually finished production on an audiobook called The Tailor's Son by Thomas Klobuchar. A fantastic story of a father and son's journey, and ultimately to find what was really important in life, and a story spanning decades. And hats off to Thomas Klobuchar for a fantastic story. And actually, that's my second audiobook production for him. I'm looking forward to it being released, and I'll post a link on my social media sites as soon as it is. So here's a sample of that. Part 1, The Great Journey, 1948. This story begins in the late summer of 1948 with a young boy pressing his nose firmly against the plate glass storefront window of a tailor shop in LaSalle, Illinois. Back then, a Coke and burger cost less than 50 cents. Harry Truman was the president, and most people still went out and got measured for at least one suit of clothes. It was a major status symbol. Everyone who was anyone had one. That meant most towns had at least one tailor shop, and the tailor and the customers always seemed to be on display. In this case, it was my dad, the tailor, and the president of the local bank, the customer, getting fitted for a new suit of clothes. That little boy was me. That shop was my dad's, and if 1948 seems like a long time ago to you, you can rest assured that it seems like several lifetimes ago to me. I had audiobook production on Monday, which was the 6th of March, a game trailer production, and I actually did some production work, crazy character voices, for an escape room client based in New Zealand. Essentially, you get grouped with a team. You show up, could be family, could be friends, could be a night out with the guys, the gals, or whatever. But you go in there, 5, 6, 7, however many members, and you choose a theme room, and you get instructions, and essentially a clock begins to tick down, and you have, in our case, it was an hour to escape from the room, picking up on clues, working as a team. Essentially, it's a game, and it's on a timer, and it's a great test of character and of how you work as a team. Anyway, this particular client has multiple escape rooms, I'm guessing, and the theme, one of them was to read the voice of a Native American warrior. One of them was to read what he termed a cowboy/bandit character, and another one was probably the wackiest and craziest voice I've done in a long time. Very maniacal, very psychotic, actually. It was a creepy talking doll. And I'll give you a sample of what that sounded like. Don't be scared, kids. I don't need to put a disclaimer here, but, small pets, children at heart, beware.
You're still here? Find the key and open this door. You're still here? Go find the key and open this door. Here's a riddle for you. What object has keys but opens no locks, space but no room, and you can enter but not go in? A typewriter. Get it? Here's a riddle for you. What object has keys?
Okay, so that was some crazy good fun. That was. Oh, is there one more I wanted to hear? I don't know. Oh, I created just a separate track just for giggling. So here's what More? Oh, you're killing me. Got anything else there? There we go. I knew that was coming, the evil scientist. I started a new audiobook called A Theory of Human Motivation by A.H. Maslow. And it actually was copyrighted back in the 1940s. I've done one other audiobook for this client called The Art of Dramatic Writing. And I have a feeling this is going to be a theme where they're pulling up older public domain material. Even the writing style was very different in the early 1940s, and plus this guy was a doctor, so there were some terms in there I had to reference and look up, and some of them weren't necessarily in the dictionary. So I'm not sure if that was specific to his profession or what it was. But anyway, it was talking about the theory of human motivation, what drives us. And it's interesting, some of the thought processes back then and some of the evolution of thought now. But nonetheless, it was fascinating. It took me a couple of days to knock it out because it wasn't a very long one. Let's see, I did another, what is this, another explainer video. I then got contacted by an e-learning client out in Texas I do a lot of work with, and signed an NDA, so I can't really talk about the specifics of the project, but and I can't play samples either. So all I can say is it took me 3 days because I was sent 3 different projects over those 3 days, which kept me kind of busy with e-learning content. And love these guys, love to work with them. Like I say, they're based out in Texas. And so it did that. That kept me busy for the better part of Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But I did manage to squeeze in a couple of more projects for some explainer videos, some marketing videos, some a little bit more character work, and actually just wrapped up some 5 and 15-second commercials for another e-learning client who's selling the business that he produces e-learning content for the hospitality industry. He's based out in Fort Lauderdale. And Eric sent me several scripts to try to turn into commercials to promote his business, which then in turn he gets business. He brings me the e-learning scripts to produce for him, and that's a good formula. It's a good circle. So I produce the commercials, and it's always interesting when this is not a criticism, but it's always interesting when somebody sends you, they have a lot of content, but they have a little time constraint because these are commercials that will air somewhere, and they have to fit specific time frames. So on average, 165 is about the average speaking reading voice that I do. 150 slow, and that's average across the board, as I understand. 165 is medium good conversational pace. 180 is talking fast, and anything beyond that becomes hard to understand, or if you're doing a car commercial disclaimer or something like that, or anything to do with finance terms, and you're reading the fine print essentially at the bottom of the screen. And I can't even talk that fast, not even trying to mimic it, but you know what I'm talking about, the Micro Machine guy. Too much copy in too little space, and it's like what we used to term squeezing the 10 pounds into the 5-pound sack. But, you know, chopping here, chopping there, a little creative editing, a little speed, tempo control, and managed to finally get more words than you could normally speak into that block and still sound normal and human and inviting, and so you could understand it. Listen to it a few times, it worked. And so got that knocked out actually just a short time ago to kind of wrap up my week. So this next week is, who knows? Honestly, and that's kind of the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes I'm mapped out days ahead. Sometimes I do know that I've got a large project coming up. So I don't know exactly when, but I do know it's going to take up a large part of the rest of March. And I'm looking forward to that. A lot of e-learning content on a brand new project for a gentleman in Chicago. And looking forward to working with Tim. I haven't worked with him since probably late last year. Oh, the one thing I know it's big coming up in this area in South Carolina. The month of February was probably the warmest month ever in the month of February for this area in South Carolina that I live in. Now, that's not a big deal, although it was very nice to get out and about, and that early spring fever, the flowers and the trees are a little confused, and, you know, the flea and tick season has started early, so, you know, take care of your pets. But the crazy thing is, tomorrow, as I'm making this, it's March 11th, tomorrow we are expected to get snow here in the Columbia area. So I'm still trying to figure out, you know, I'm looking at the calendar. Oh, and it's daylight savings time. so we have to spring forward. But snow is supposed to accumulate. So I wore this in recognition that all my northern neighbors, you've had to deal with it, but, we don't often get to deal with this. And it's March, and it's supposed to be springtime. And I don't mean to whine, but by golly, it shouldn't be this way. We should go back to February where it was 75 and 80 degrees, and I wouldn't have to bundle up and hunker down and run to the store and clean off the shelves of milk and bread to prepare for the storm. But nonetheless, we do what we have to do. We press on. And I want to tell you something. Knowing that I get to work in a nice, cozy studio, I'm so blessed. Thank you. You guys have a good week, and stay warm or cool, depending on whatever the case may be. And I'll see you next time on my VoiceOver Weekly Stew.